you?
Hi, everyone.
Hey, Cecilia. Great to talk
Hi.
to you again.
Yeah. How do you say your name? How
Urho.
do you pronounce your name? Urho.
Yeah, really nicely. Yeah. Now it gives me great privilege to introduce you to our third generation product lineup, which is the XR-3 that you see here and the VR3 that you see on the right. And the mission for these products has been basically to take our great technologies to the mainstream. And by mainstream, we don't talk about the consumers. We still talk about profit. We want to have double the performance at half the price and to bring the product quality to a whole new level. That meant that we needed to do a lot of the components from the ground up instead of just utilizing the off-the-shelf available components. Our first and second generation headsets had a rather narrow field of view, both for the human eye resolution inset, that was the size of HoloLens's whole field of view, but still quite limited. And the rest of the immersive view was still immersive, but felt a little bit constrained at 87 degrees horizontal field of view.
All right, I remember that.
Now, in the third generation, we have 40% wider field of view at 115 degrees horizontal, which is the widest on the market, which is pretty incredible. We have also designed custom lenses that are very large, which means that you get that wide field of view even if you wear eyeglasses. Again, something that you typically don't get. By our measurements, we have found that we are actually wider field of view than any even of the consumer mainstream headsets, including the Valve Index and obviously also the Reverb G2 from HP, which is something that Tom's hardware just measured to be running at 88 degrees field of view.
Okay.
The human eye resolution area is now twice the size of the previous generation, and we have optimized its location to be predominantly under the horizon line, because typically that's where the action is. If you're a pilot training, if you're doing pilot training, all of the avionics are there, because in the end, whether it's civilian or military side, the plane is a huge computer and you must be interfacing with that. That's what you're mainly being taught to do when you're flying those planes. And especially simulation time is all about training how to use that flying beast of a computer. What we also did at the same time is that we made a completely new display, which is running at 6 times the resolution of our previous peripheral display. And this is the most advanced VR display on the market by 2 generations. And this allows us to have ultra high resolution everywhere. So now even the peripheral display is running at 35 pixels per degree, very near the limits of the human eye. What that means is that you'll be able to very comfortably read text all around at any place in your field of view. And in the center, you have that perfection of the image through our human eye resolution display. And what really allows you to have is that these displays now also completely perfectly blend to each other, because they're much closer than ever before on their quality metrics, and this allows us to do that perfection. And so this is one of the things that we're incredibly proud about, because now finally there is no significant difference whether you're looking at the central field or in any other part of your peripheral field. And at the same time, this being immensely large area.
Wow.
At the very edges of display, we are running at 29 pixels per degree at the corners, but then majority of the peripheral display is at 35 to 33 degrees pixels per degree. Totaling these displays is that we have 12 million pixels per eye on the displays. This has led us to start developing foveated rendering to the next level, because again, it starts to be quite a lot of pixels to render for the GPUs. So we developed a new eye tracking system that runs with one-dot calibration, so that you're able to always rely on foveated rendering in all of the applications. Then additionally, we worked a lot on the colors. Again, one of the things that is super important if you want to be having a meaningful online design review with your colleagues. So with these headsets, you know always that the colors are exactly accurate for everybody in the session. And something that, for example, our colleagues at Kia have been working on now for the past half a year, transitioning the way that they do their design processes between their design studios in Frankfurt and the headquarters in Korea. And they're having now, instead of the way that they did before, which is that they flew once a month for a week into Korea to do design reviews, to do design adjustments with the HQ team. Now, in the COVID times, they cannot fly. So instead, what they have changed this process to is that they have one or multiple times a week a design review session with the HQ people. And this is done with Varjo headsets. And with those, they're able to be within the VRED, Autodesk's VRED, which is the design tool of choice for the whole automotive industry. And they can see each other as avatars inside there, discuss naturally, point at things, annotate things, and look at the details with perfect clarity. And that has completely changed their design workflows. Again, making the iterations faster, making the coordination between the teams better, and ultimately everybody seems to be winning in this equation, which is good. And the colors are playing a really important part in this one, so that you can trust that everybody sees not only the details the same way, but also the textures and the color space. We also have 93% DCI-P3 color space, which is the Apple's standard. We have a small skew in the green portion that shifts us from the perfect overlap with the DCI-P3. Obviously, we would be able to have the same full coverage, but it's not with the perfect overlap, which is a shame. But not far away from it. And as you have seen our headsets before, this is basically how it looks compared to the consumer-grade VR headset like the Valve Index, which you see on the left. So grainy, not high resolution. These are photographs taken from the Valve's headset and the VR3 and XR-3 display on the right. And they were taken with the Sony compact camera, and it's an apples to apples comparison.
Can I just say for a moment, Cecile, so I have actually tried the Varjo headset on multiple occasions, and when you put this on, it really, like, I tried a photogrammetry demo, it really does look like that. It takes you to another place. It puts you in another part of the world. It feels like you see something that looks super sharp and photorealistic, and it's just really next level. The experience is amazing. So I just thanks Micah. And now the focus area is actually even better, even higher quality. The display is 10 times brighter than in the first generation, and we have been able to utilize that one to shorten the duty cycle of the pixels. So now the displays are fully synchronized at 90 hertz, and it's possible to keep the perfect alignment even in fast-moving cases of the head movement or object movement. I was going to ask you about the brightness because especially if you have color, if the color is now perfected between different. I don't know. Maybe I shouldn't use the word perfected, but but companies can rely on the color being correct from one headset to another, and having enough brightness in your headset should be relevant to that. So
it is for sure, and I would say that we have really comfortable high brightness, but it's not high dynamic range level brightness yet. So we're running at 100 nits, whereas it's one of the areas that I'm looking forward to develop sometime in the future. We do have some capabilities to increase that further with software changes. So let's see how far we can actually push it on the lifetime of this third generation. But the starting point is at 100 nits now. So it's like bright, but it's not super bright. The reason for that one is that for example, for the focus display, that 10 times brighter like panel, we added a polarizer on top of that one to get rid of all of the reflections inside the optical chamber. That basically halved that improvement. So then we have 5 times left, and then we reduced the duty cycle to a third. So then we started to be close to getting from that 5x to 1.5x, and then we did some temperature lifetime adjustments and tolerance adjustments, and that way it's a little bit brighter than the first generation that was running at, I think, 80 nits. So a small improvement over that one, but would be really great to be able to increase that brightness further still. And one of the ways to do that one is to change duty cycle in certain scenarios. As for example, in the case of industrial design, we could look into having and accepting a little bit more smearing in favor of higher brightness in certain situations. And these kind of things that you really must be able to try and validate before you can say that they will ultimately work. But I'm looking forward to seeing what we can do with that one.
So I'm interested to hear your thoughts. It's sort of a side question, but it was, in terms of, I've heard the micro LED community like very persuasively try to argue that micro LEDs are the future because they have great brightness and they're really small. Do you have thoughts on what the future of displays, 5 years from now might be?
Like, it's a good question. I'd say LCD and normal OLED panels will be very likely being the solution in the future. Like when you look at the economics of scale compared to micro LED displays that still need to be silicon wafer based, compared to the glass substrate based displays like LCDs and glass OLEDs, it's the price difference is like night and day, and these OLED and LCD panels are moving on a predictable trajectory when it comes to the densities of the pixels. The only thing potentially limiting their advancement is if the VR and AR market is not expanding fast enough. That's going to be the biggest limitation. The second one is the brightness, because the smaller you go with the pixel size, the more you need to do routing between the pixel openings, the smaller the shutter for each pixel gets. So those are the kind of problems. Of course, with OLED, you mostly get around that problem, but it's still going to be there for a degree. So I'd say glass-based displays are going to be the future. Now, when it comes to the augmented reality, these optical see-through devices, micro LEDs are really great in that domain. And I follow also that track quite a bit. So it seems like we are going to be seeing some super cool micro LED products next year on the market. So really looking forward to that.
So Varjo is really a pioneer in the display arena. And I bet you even have looked at the holographic light field displays and have thoughts about the future of those. I don't want to ask you to predict your own, future products or anything, but I'm just, have you looked at those? Are you excited about holographic displays? And I mean,
I think those are the kind of things that we're still quite far from being able to benefit really from those. So first, so many other things need to be solved that have higher priority than having proper light field displays that always take additional sacrifices, for example, to the resolution, to the brightness, and so forth. So I do think that there's plenty to work on the other area for at least the next 5 years before it makes sense to start venturing into the light field alike display. Yeah, so comparing on the training side, this is Lockheed Martin's prepared, which is one of the software that, for example, US Air Force uses in their training. And this is from the F-35 simulator. So as you can see, the valve index is not high enough resolution that you could actually read any of the text, whereas ours is. And you can do that comfortably from the place that pilot is supposed to be sitting in the pose that pilot is supposed to be sitting in, so that they don't need to lean to be able to actually read that text, which would immediately become negative training as you learn a behavior that you would never do in real life, and then in the tough situation you might actually fall back accidentally to that, and that's not good. Whereas with the human eye resolution and full frame display we have in the XR3 and the VR3, you're able to comfortably read everything, and also just glance around with your eyes in the cockpit to be able to read the details, rather than even having to rotate your head around to be able to see the detail, because of the
so you
ultra high resolution.
If I understood what you said earlier correctly, you have real-time foveated rendering now, so people can. So you still have the highest resolution in the very center of the screen, but the rest of the screen is still pretty close to the same. So you can look anywhere now with just your eyes, and
absolutely
you're getting foveated rendering where you're looking. So you've got that really advanced eye tracking that you showed me on a previous time when I was looking at like one of the first companies to have like really fast eye tracking. And now the foveated rendering. So I tried a foveated rendering one time on another device, and there was a little bit of shimmer, which sort of like around the eyes. Is there a little shimmer when you do foveated rendering, or have you like overcome that? Because I saw their product had like where you looked, there was a shimmer that indicated that their foveated rendering was happening, and I think it was accidental, and there was a bug they were working on. Or is it just like really? Is it just really just nice everywhere, and you don't notice any like it was an artifact, a shimmering artifact, basically.
Yeah. So it's one of the challenges on the way that you do the foveated rendering. So if you're talking like outside of this highest resolution region, that's a kind of a balancing act of how you optimize the rendering outside of that human eye resolution region, or like that foveated rendering region, whatever your headset may actually be. We have worked on a lot on that one to completely get rid of that artifacting issue. Sometimes it's a balance that depending on the content, you might need to increase the size of the foveated region, so that at the edges of that one you cannot see the pixel quality difference between the foveated region and the outside of foveated region. And the shimmering is caused by aliasing of the outside region of the foveated region, I suppose non-foveated region, because the aliasing is always caused by the exact pixels being not a sum of the area of each pixel, but it's like a single sample into the pixel location that creates the aliasing that always results in that kind of like shimmering feel with the low resolution rendering. But yeah, it's a known problem, and we have had the luxury of working on that one for over a year, so it's, I'd say, like a solved problem.
Oh, great. Glad to hear it.
So mixed reality, because like we do mixed reality, and that's what most of our software developers are spending their time on, and that's what we formed the company to do, and that's what we're the most proud about. And now the XR3 is our first true product in the mixed reality side. So even the XR1 was a developer edition, as we labeled it, because we didn't feel comfortable saying it's really ready-made product yet. But this one is. We designed custom lenses for this one, and of course, 2 attempts at doing that. Now with 40% larger field also for the cameras, matching exactly the peripheral display at 115 degrees. The clarity is much higher, and we have been able to actually increase the resolution of the camera to 35 pixels per degree, again matching the peripheral display resolution. So this is always very important for us. Very fast lens at f2.8, and because of the wider field of view and smaller lens, we have been able to increase the depth of field of the camera so that it's from 30 centimeters to infinity in sharp. We also added our own inside-out tracking to complement the SteamVR tracking that we have in the VR3 and the XR3. Now, this various inside-out tracking can be enabled in the use cases that you don't want to set up lighthouses, or you really want to have the most perfect alignment of a virtual object into the real world, because the inside-out tracking that we have developed is based on the video see-through camera feed. So it registers everything in exactly the same domain as the user actually sees them. So this allows us to do that super gluing in perfection.
Oh, sorry. Do you mind if I ask, is the lidar part of the tracking system, or is it just the video camera that you're running the tracking through?
At the moment, it's only the video camera. LiDAR is an interesting additional vector to that one at some point, but not now.
Okay.
Hand tracking is included on both of the products, VR3 and the XR3, and utilizing Ultraleap's latest Generation 5 algorithms that are still unavailable to general public. And we also include, of course, the professional licenses to use these in any commercial use cases, including medical and military use cases. So something that you typically would separately need to acquire from Ultraleap.
And your customers have access to all of the data from all these sensors for their own use? Do you have a software suite that enables that as well, or is it just whatever they can write for the customers to use to utilize the sensor data? For example, if they wanted to bring in the hand tracking, and if they wanted to access the lidar and do custom things like.
Yeah, they can access the data of those. But for example, Ultraleap's hand tracking provides you with the skeletal model of the hands and some abstraction APIs, but you cannot access the camera feed of the Ultraleap cameras or these hand tracking cameras during the operation of Ultraleap's algorithms. So in a sense, you cannot access necessarily always all this raw sensor data. There is some kind of middle layer processing typically done, and so it is for the lidar as well. You cannot access the raw lidar data, but there is an abstraction that creates a depth map out of that one, and that's what you can access.
How about for eye tracking? Is that accessible in operation for customers to researchers? For example? Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Of course, also in the eye tracking case, we expose the gaze points for the left, right eyes, and then the combined gaze point in three-dimensional space, the pupil size, and I think there are some other parameters like less important, like the eyelid, how open the eye is, and things like this. So again, you have a bit of abstraction in there.
So I just wanted to say for Cecile, so I got to try the mixed reality, and this is the best mixed reality experience that I've tried from all the different headsets that I've tried. I mean, you've got the crystal clear screen, you've got the amazing, it's what I meant to say is you've got this camera pass through which gives you a color screen of your environment, and then you've got the sharpness to the Varjo headset, which brings the high resolution graphics and places them into your real environment. And I just haven't seen mixed reality look better than on any other headset than this. So this is just for mixed reality. I like what they say, the perfect mixed reality. Haven't tried anything better than this in terms of mixed reality. It's in a class of its own.
Yeah, it really is photorealistic. So things don't look like ghosts; they look like the real deal. And like the lidar, including the lidar, is one of the things that we really wanted to improve on other areas of this perfect merging between the real reality and virtual reality, so that the VR objects in your mixed reality actually appear and interact correctly in relation to the real world. And this is, by the way, a shot taken with this XR-3 cameras a couple of weeks back, and it just shows you the incredible quality of the video feed. And at the same time, you see, for example, that robot arm really that it doesn't have any swim. It stays perfectly in place from its leg, and you're able to have these objects that are reflecting the world around you, really truly making all of this photorealistic. So
in the demo that you're showing right now, is this are you using the onboard video for the tracking? Is that the inside-out tracking? Is that what it's a demo
on this one? Yes, we are using the inside-out tracking for that purpose. So that's the reason why everything is so solidly in place in this case.
Okay.
Yeah, so this is one of the videos that you probably see as a bit of a slideshow, but the video is included in the press kit, so you'll be able to access it in the smooth format and check it out from there. The lidar data, you'll get the full deck and this video as well from there. We have a really robust lidar that functions up to 5 meters, which is super cool. This is a voxel representation in 3 dimensions of our chief marketing officer walking around me. The resolution of the lidar is not so super high, but it does give us a great foundation to build experiences on. And what we have done is that we have made the first fusion algorithm on top of a lidar and video see-through image. So what we do is that we use this full field of view lidar. So we have the same field of view for the lidar, 108 degrees wide lidar feed of the world around you. And we use that as a ground truth with our VST cameras that we run through Nvidia's deep neural network optical flow algorithms that create a depth map for the video see-through feed for every single pixel of this fantastic VST cameras. And then we run 3 layers of filtering that bias the data based on the time of flight camera data, or this lidar camera data. And with that one, we get the resulting depth image you see on the right, which has incredibly beautiful gradienting of the depth there on that you can see on the walls and on the floor. Then it has the beautiful contours that we get from the stereo disparity optical flow. For example, you can see that on the tripod in the background. You can see that on the lead developer's edges, his victory sign, his hair even showing up there beautifully. So the point is that we're able to get really stable, pixel perfect depth image for every single frame, 90 frames per second. That allows us to do camera reprojections. It allows us to do 3D reconstructions. It allows even really high quality holoportation of the things in front of the headset in real time to other place on the planet. So these are the kind of things that we have laid the groundwork. We haven't built experiences on top of these. To some we never do, and we just work with partners to achieve those. And to some we do reference implementations or like higher level APIs. So one of these things is that we will be introducing a 3D reconstruction API for example, collaboration tools, to be able to say that let's share this place with everybody joining from with other VR headsets, so that instantly it becomes kind of mixed reality collaboration
So
environment.
I want to sort of give some feedback, and also to Cecile, that in terms, this is blowing my mind a lot, because I mean, you mentioned okay, so I'll start from the beginning. Like 5 millimeters for lidar is really great. That's a good distance. It's what you're getting with this new phone that has lidar is a much shorter range. So that's really good. But now you're combining it with the video camera already. So you're like, your company is like pioneering another technological thread, right? You're already like ahead of the game in combining video and creating this really high quality depth map, which goes far beyond what the lidar can do by itself. And on top of that, you're already merging neural networks with this, so you can start to do things like semantic segmentation. You can I mean, down the road, you can identify, well, this all these pixels in this really high resolution depth map belong to the board. This is a human being. This is a countertop. This is a camera, and then you're already talking about, well, hey, we can do 90 frames per second a real-time reconstruction of the scene and teleport that to another location in the world. And I'm just like, that's amazing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
We are definitely the semantical portion is one of those things that we're looking forward to build on top of this foundation. We're not there yet. I'm myself super excited about those opportunities, and we'll definitely start with some of those easy parts, like do semantic segmentation of the floor and of the walls. They are super useful for many purposes, and enabling application developers to have access to these kind of like abstractions easily is super interesting all by itself. And then like tabletop surfaces, again, enabling access to those. These are the kind of things that also, for example, Apple has been doing to a degree with the AR Kit and Google with the AR Core, but we are able to move very fast. Also because of the really high performance compute we have available on these headsets.
Yeah, I mean, your company's moving much faster, it seems like. I mean, you're like, it's what you're showing is ahead of what many other companies are showing right now. So, I mean, that's just that's very exciting. And I just wanted to say, what was the other thing? Oh gosh, it was that the idea of, basically, so I've heard Jules Urbach, he's the CEO of Otoy, and he was saying that, they could do, they could do back in years ago, back in 2015, they were doing all these like light field demos with, multiple cameras, like light. And I said, well, why aren't you still doing that? And he said something to the effect of, well, I believe that that we're going to be doing basically turning reality into a cinematic object, with capture. And that's sort of what you're talking about now, is real time turning reality into a cinematic object in real time. And where that goes in the future is like, people have been talking about, where are we going to get our VR content from? We got to wait for developers to make it. And then all of a sudden the game engines are like, wow, we've just entity component systems, we give all this new performance, we just can't create graphics fast enough for all this powerful computing that we have now. We have to actually scan in the real world in order to take advantage of these new graphical innovations. And here you come, hey, we're scanning in the real world.
Yeah, like, it's super cool. Yeah, and of course this is also a domain where you can spend infinite amount of time perfecting that one. So you easily get a diffuse map of the world around you, and then you start wondering, how can we capture the specular properties of the objects, and how can we optimize it with intelligent bump maps and so forth. So it's like a super interesting domain that you could spend a lifetime working on and still have plenty to continue. But yeah, we're super excited about this one, and we'll be showing some super cool demos of these things in early next year. And we're planning to do now some road shows also in USA as soon as everybody feels comfortable actually visiting those. We cannot travel also ourselves to USA probably still even in January, maybe not even in February, but we have an office in USA with almost 15 people these days, so they would be doing it for us in this case. And then hopefully we actually come to GTC to one, talk about these things, and secondly, to also hopefully appear there in the physical fashion so that we can show the latest and greatest in there.
Looking forward to it.
Yeah. So then a little bit on the comfort and usability. Our customers are expecting the headsets to be usable for multiple hour sessions, in not only in the training and simulations, but also in the design departments, where now that they do the design reviews, they tend to last easily 2 hours. So headsets must be comfortable. We designed a precision fit headband that adapts to the sizes of people's heads and the shapes really well, because we are all different. And firstly, the band itself is flexible so that it adapts to the shape. Then with the ratchet in the back, you adapt to the size of the head. Then the top ratchet lifts the weight of the headset so that it's comfortably there on the top of your head, instead of you having to squeeze the headset so tight that it stays put on your face. And then finally, the dial in the middle lets you tilt the front part of the headset so that you can release the pressure from your cheeks. Still block the light, but not have the pressure. One of those things that really makes a difference when you're looking into longer usage sessions. Finally, easy access audio jack on the side for microphone and audio output. And then cables are interchangeable, standard USB-C cables. So you can put short cables for VR backpacks, or optical fiber cables for really long distances, or what comes as a default is a 5-meter cable. At the other end of this one is a link box that allows you to plug it into PC with 2 USB-A 3.0 connections and 2 DisplayPort connections. So very similar to our previous generations, but there is no Thunderbolt anymore needed, so it's fully standards compliant with pretty much any PC out there, which is super cool. The baseline configuration for GPU is RTX 3070 of this generation, or RTX 2080, preferably Ti from the previous generation. We've been using this quite a lot with 3090s, which is super cool. And now we're really eagerly waiting for the Nvidia's RTX A6000 that we know that automotive companies will be using a lot, because their models are so big that they really require as much RAM as you can have on the GPU. And the RTX A6000 will definitely deliver on those promises. Then a little bit on the hygienics. So in March, we realized this thing called pandemic is changing the game, and we changed the materials of the headset at that stage. And everything is super hygienic, super easy to clean, yet breathing materials. So now everything that touches your face or head has been made from TPU that allows us to do alcohol wiping of those surfaces really quickly. It doesn't have the grooves that, for example, textile masks do, which you never can really truly clean with alcohol wipes, because there is always some residual stuff stuck between those fibers. This is a smooth surface and thus super easy to clean. And if you happen to have a bit of a workout, then of course it's you can wipe away the sweat, and it's again comfortable and easy to use. One of those funny things that when you start touring around in conferences with the headset, you realize that surprisingly a lot of people are busy. They're sweating at the show floor, so it's really nice that you can actually clean away that sweat, and you don't put the sponge on the next person's head. So really important. Then we have active cooling, so that your face stays cool when you're wearing the headset, again making extended periods of use easier. Lenses, as I mentioned, fully custom designed and made for this headset itself. no reflections anymore inside, and we have lost the magnification lenses you might have seen previously on the periphery, all gone. It's just one beautiful image that you see inside. Automatic IPD, so you don't need to adjust the headset to you, it will adjust for you, and you always have that perfect optical view. This also means that it reduces long-term nausea significantly. Again, one of the things that doesn't strike you in a few minutes of use, but when you start using again for hours on the headset, if it's not optically perfect, you will have residual nausea just from the lenses. Now with the automatic IPD, you don't get that. Eye tracking, best in class, and we have increased the frame rate to 200 Hz. We have reduced the latency of the eye tracking signal to not only due to that frame rate increase, but also in USB stack optimizations. We have reduced it to half what it used to be. So we are super happy with that improvement as well. And as I mentioned, single dot eye tracking calibration available, so that foveated rendering can be always used. It's good enough for plenty of other uses as well, even with the single dot eye tracking calibration. But if you want to really do the best-in-class analytics on top of it, we also have a 5-dot calibration mode that takes slightly longer, but then it does improve the resolution to sub-degree accuracy, which is super.
With the fully automatic IPD, does that involve like the lenses actually like moving inside the headset? Oh, wow.
Yeah, so the whole optical assembly moves. So also the displays move as they're locked to the lenses. So the whole optical assembly moves inside the headset.
And I forgot the other question, but okay.
There is a very high quality Japanese motor doing that movement.
So normally VR headsets have magnifying glasses, and you were able to remove that from your.
No. We still have the lenses are magnification lenses, very strong biconvex lenses, very beautiful design, no Fresnel artifacts, no glare as a result of that one. We have added anti-reflection coatings to the lenses, which is quite expensive, but it removes the reflections inside perfectly. But previously we had an additional magnification lens for that human eye resolution area that were actually visible in your field of view here in the periphery. So it was like a white glare coming from the side. All of that one is gone. Most people didn't notice it, but if you noticed it once, you noticed it forever. So it was one of those things that we deliberately didn't tell people to look at when they put the headset on. It was sometimes that people were using our headset for a month or even months, not realizing that those lenses were there. Then somebody mentions it to them, and then they see it always. So it's one of those funny things. But all of that is gone. Now it's just perfection in image quality.
Excellent.
So all this, I did mention that we were aiming for half the price, and we also managed to do that. So VR3 is now 3,200, XR3 is 5,500. So our previous generation prices were $6,000 for the VR2, VR2 Pro, and the $10,000 for the XR1. And these are now available from the 1st of December onwards. And it's basically, we opened the store at the same time as the press embargo lifts, which is at 9 a.m. Eastern time on the 1st of December. The devices will be delivered in the same cadence as before. So we've had this 8 to 12 week delivery window from placing the order to receiving the headset. That will hold even for the launch of the headset as well. And in practice, when you look at the calendar, it's going to look like February deliveries for majority of the customers. We will do some deliveries already in December, but December is always challenging time, and then comes Chinese New Year, so we're expecting that majority of the launch deliveries will be made in February.
Wow, it's available already in January. So the XR3 is the mixed reality version of the device. Do the customers who opt for the XR3, they get all the features that are in the VR3, right? It's just
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely. And the weight difference isn't that big. We have on the weight, we also have a counterweight on the back so that this is as evenly balanced on your head as possible. Even the counterweight is the same between these two headsets. And the difference between the weight is less than 100 grams between these two devices. I think around 50 grams is the cost of the sort of the cost of the mixed reality adder on this one, whereas it was like 400 grams on the previous generation.
So I noticed that the VR3 has cameras on the front, but that is a VR headset primarily. Does it have a mixed reality feature, or are those?
No, it has hand tracking. So one of the things that hand tracking is used quite a lot in the training and simulation space, where still majority of the training is done inside VR, because VR reduces the total cost of ownership. Typically, whenever you go to mixed reality environments, you're then building physical things also for the user. Whereas with the VR headsets, for example, pilot training is then done with a throttle and stick type of setup, and then everything else is virtual. And then with mixed reality trainer, the same thing would be throttle and stick, and all of the controls in front of you being like physically present there. So it typically becomes quite a bit more expensive and more difficult to manage to take it to other places. Yet we're having like great collaborations at the moment ongoing that I cannot discuss about, where some of the companies are doing kind of like trainers in a luggage type of situation, where you open a big-ish bag that contains the whole training equipment, and you assemble it in a couple of minutes, and then the training can commence, and you can send these equipments to anywhere in the world with ease. So it's not like it's super difficult with the XR3s. It just happens to be that it takes the price slightly up also from the other aspects point of view. So VR has its place still.
So both headsets are using the Ultraleap for the hand tracking. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. No. It's the mixed reality is so much better in the XR3 versus the HoloLens that I'm like, well, why did the military go with HoloLens? They should have gone with the XR3, obviously. What?
Yeah, well, HoloLens is standalone. So if you're doing training in the bushes, then probably HoloLens is the better choice.
So that's my future hope is that eventually within 5 years we'll see a standalone Varjo headset.
Yeah,
that's my hope.
I mean, definitely possible. I'm also really eager. We also have a name for that project already, because that's one of the goals of the company, which is that we're compatible with all PC VR software. So every single Steam VR game works with these headsets. Every mainstream professional application works with these, such as, for example, the Luxion's Key VR, based part of the Keyshot suite. It's the most used visualization application for industrial designers in any product company. Enscape, which is used by all the biggest architecture agencies, works out of the box, including real-time ray tracing with these headsets, making you really see all those beautiful light bounces inside the houses as well, and so forth. So these are fully mature and ready for also the small and medium-sized businesses, not only for the tip of the iceberg of the largest of the enterprises that has been predominantly our customer base in the previous generations. Now with the third generation, these are ready for everybody, all businesses of all sizes. And now with the bigger businesses, we're talking about deployments in the range of thousands of units to a single customer, which is kind of very interesting and tells you the level of transformation happening in the industry now. So you sometimes hear about these massive deployments, like what you referred to previously as US Army purchasing Windows mixed reality headsets or the HoloLens 2s for their use cases, and then sometimes you hear like a big deployments for other training use cases. But that's something that is now happening all across the board, and we feel and the message that we're getting is that the companies truly believe and they know that they're getting the value for the money. And these are not still inexpensive headsets, so you must truly believe that you are getting really good bang for the buck in these cases when you talk about deploying thousands of units. It's also one of the drivers for us in this generation to make it so that the larger scale deployments are possible, because whereas with the enterprises, the cost doesn't matter that much when you buy 10 or 100 units, but when you go to the thousands of units, then the CFOs start to be interested in what's actually going on, and suddenly the price has a meaning and it matters, and I think we're in just the right time with the product.
I want to ask you, I noticed that you're using Lenovo as your reseller. So
Yeah.
do you have an exclusive reseller of the product? What are your methods of selling to the client?
Really good question. So we have built a value-added reseller network globally. We actually just had last night a summit with these value-added resellers. Lenovo is one of them. And we have resellers around the globe. I think I can link you guys to the list of these resellers. For example, in Japan, we have Elsa as our representative who manufacture also PCs, and they sell our headsets as bundles. Lenovo has certified their workstation lineup to function with the Varjo headsets, and now, of course, we're doing that one for the third generation headsets, and Lenovo is a very dear partner to us, and it's a great opportunity for especially the bigger businesses who have Lenovo as one of their suppliers in their supplier catalog. So it makes it very easy for the employees of large organizations to purchase Varjo headsets through the Lenovo catalog. So if you've worked on the bigger organizations, it's like a lot of computer equipment must be only bought from the existing catalog. So you cannot go to a random store and buy a PC. You need to do it through the corporate machinery. And Lenovo is super important part for us to make that happen. And the same thing for Elsa in Japan. So having a local reseller is always super important.
So is that is the reseller arrangement exclusive? Meaning to say, like, if you have a
No,
reseller in an area,
we never do exclusive arrangements with the resellers. It's a policy.
So how do you go about like if parts are needed or something? Do you have somebody to stock it up in a country that you're selling it?
Sorry, can you repeat the question?
If they need some parts or accessories, can they order directly to you, or do they order through the reseller?
It's either option works. So we have, of course, a web store, and you can purchase things from there. But we do always recommend using your value-added reseller, because then you have also the additional support of the reseller available to you. So if anything goes wrong on the accessory installation or something like that, that's where the value-added reseller really helps. So they do bring value. They're not just middlemen selling the units to you, but they help always.
So, for instance, if there is someone, for instance, Cecile has a friend from Australia who would be interested to buy a good volume of of Varjo products, can they
Mm.
get in touch with you directly if you don't have a reseller in Australia?
They can purchase directly, and we do sell also in Australia and New Zealand as well. We're selling in 40 countries these days, and including also Singapore and so forth. And in many places we don't necessarily have a local reseller. So in those cases, of course, you can purchase directly from us or some regional reseller. That's also possible. Yes, and of course, whenever you're purchasing a bigger deal, it makes sense to negotiate those, and we always aim to fill through resellers if possible, and help make that deal financially sensible for everybody.
Yeah, I was asking that question because in the actual field, what's happening, like in areas in Asia, for example, like when you're trying to get the Oculus, for instance, we get a priority at the end of the supply chain. So you don't get it at once. So like you have to order it through another friend in the US or something.
Mhm.
So I was being a person who's doing marketing and doing industrial products. I was having this experience about talking to the clients. I mean, the end users who are supposed to be corporations who are doing training. So that's why I was asking this question, because I
Yeah.
find it very interesting.
Yeah,
Because
it's a good question, and we really want to and have wanted to expand quite fast on our market segment. So being able to sell to each of the countries, and of course that sometimes means that we have had to do additional certifications, like in the case of Australia. So sometimes opening the sales to a certain country isn't just like that. Let's add an item into the recipient's country list, but it entails much more, and we of course always do the diligence on those ones. We don't currently sell in China. We don't currently sell in Russia, which are maybe the two huge countries in the Asian markets that are missing from the list of countries.
okay.
But we do sell in Hong Kong, and we're actually supplying the whole world through Hong Kong at the moment. So our factories are in Zhuhai in China, and Flex manufactures all of our headsets, and also provides the in and outbound logistics for us. And then all of the headsets go through export controls and customs at Hong Kong, and then they're delivered directly from there to the customers.
Yeah, I think it has a very good future, even for the Asian side. Because, for instance, in the Philippines, one of my own clients is Philippine Airlines, because we're selling items to them for the air flights. And when I was looking, when VR and XR were just starting, I was looking at, the training and the development of the product for the crew and the pilots, and for training of their work. But I could see that they don't have a very good product that's being sold, and there is no silo, from the maker of the product to the users here, or the people who are doing the development, so that they could not give a good user experience, or they could not give value for money products for the kind of products that they're selling. So I think after COVID, that's a great place to really develop, because it will save people a lot of time and money, and also the kind of training that's supposed to be given to them. Seeing the quality of the product that you have, I think it has some good hope. So maybe sometime, just like next year, we should prime a little bit writing about your product in the areas here in Asia as well.
Yeah, that would be fantastic. Yeah.
Because it has a very good potential. It's growing, and recently, like a few days ago, they formed this ASEAN, which is similar to the EU, and uniting and freeing trade among the ASEAN countries. So it's a little bit powerful as compared to before, when they were moving individually. So
Yeah,
anyway,
yeah, it's really good for everybody, I do believe, and free trade zones, or well, it's not completely free trade zone, but that kind of arrangement, it's really good for the whole Asian area, I do believe. And I we haven't yet gauged the impact of that one when it comes to our um, like sales regions, but for sure it will have impact, and we're going to be able to look into that one probably in December, January time, if we can expand some of the sales countries just due to that.
One of the big salient facts that has sort of left out at me after this dialogue is the fact that with COVID-19, companies really want to find they still want to find new ways of working together to collaborate remotely with VR, and these other VR headsets in many instances are not cutting it. The Oculus has all these IPD issues still. The comfort on their products is still bad. The resolution on their products is still bad. What you're offering to companies, I mean, I'm thinking about companies like big companies, Fortune 500 companies like Disney, where they work on films and Unreal Engine, and they're doing that kind of stuff with like The Mandalorian. Like, for like all of their workers, they're working remotely. They could be putting on this XR-3. It's only $5,000 for Disney. That's just like, that's nothing. They could be doing, they could be doing, they have this huge like RenderMan factory, that they have like Toy Story, like they built this whole Toy Story holodeck. They could be in there with this amazing, that's what I think of it. The pandemic story, companies, that is the most salient fact for me, that companies really are excited about virtual reality in the context of getting work done and seeing each other's avatars, having a perfectly crisp screen, and yeah. So to me, that's the big thing that leaps out at me, and I think Cecile touched on that just a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. So virtual desktops actually work with these headsets pretty beautifully, and then you have fully color calibrated environment where you have no stray light from anywhere outside of that one, and it's pretty amazing the setup that you get when you put this on, and you can get like, now your screen is like 200 inches wide and or diagonal or whatever you want, because it's all virtual. You can set it up the way that you want. If you want like a wraparound display or whatever, it's all possible. Even for the 2D experiences, you can some of those do better with these headsets than you can do in real life. We are seeing now also normal, like outside of the automotive, we're seeing product design companies investing quite a bit now in the VR and mixed reality headsets. So it's already with our previous generation. So it is exactly as you put it. Some large companies do get instant benefit from being able to do some of the things that they typically could only do if they were all in the office together. And now some of those things can be done also from home. And Bill Gates just said that he believes 50% of business travel will never come back after COVID, and 30% of commute will also be reduced as an outcome, like permanently. And all of those things mean that there will be much more demand for working effectively from home as well.
Also today there was a picture in Cisco, and they were saying that they should be prepared because when the new normal supposedly is coming back after the vaccines, and the kind of presentations and the user experience that people are doing for the conferencing, because they discovered how effective it is to work from home, should be better enhanced. Like at the time that they were caught in an emergency during COVID, wherein no one was prepared to really, prepared for the user experience. Some users are expecting that when we go back and they still keep on working from home, the user experience would be better. So I think it's it's very inspirational that you have your products. But because you are using your products for developers, personally, I am quite excited and I look forward to your development of your products for medical use, for instance, because it is a good market and before research, actually. So when you said earlier that you would be preparing some collaterals maybe for using virtual reality, just like uh, what you're doing for threading a needle to show some clarity on that, it's very exciting because it opens a lot of doors to use cases that maybe we haven't even thought about.
Yeah, exactly. So sometimes like doing things concretely enables to open the imagination of the people, how that kind of thing would apply to them. Medical segment is something that we weren't seriously thinking is a market for us until not late last spring, but maybe early last spring. We started seeing a tremendous pull from the medical industry and universities, and now research and medical use is as big a market for us as the design sector is. So it is, but it's much more varied in its uses. So in design, it's very easy to tell that people are looking at design things, but research is it's not the Wild West, but it's very difficult to say because all the use cases are so very different in there. Plenty of medical visualization use cases, quite a bit of training use cases as well, surgery training, CPR training. For example, we have Lardal has been using our headsets now for 3 weeks, the XR-3 for 3 weeks, and they have been able to take their CPR mannequins to become alive with these headsets, which is super cool, and it enables you to have the emotional connection with the CPR training that typically lacks when you're just pumping a mannequin with the trying to wake up the heart and so forth. But when with these headsets you actually see them to be like living beings, it enables you to have also the emotional pressure of the situation. And we have quotes from, for example, from Lardal about use cases of this headset in the medical domain. But yeah, it's a huge market and surprisingly fast growing market at the moment.
Yeah, because it could be used for medical education. Actually, of course, it's happening now, but then it could get better. So I think that's quite exciting. And also in the fields of astronomy and neurology, yeah, I think it has a lot of use cases.
Yes.
Yeah, I think this is good for now. This is okay for now.
Thank you very much for your time, both of you.
Thank you, Cecilia and Micah. Thanks. And have a good one.
You too. Good night.
Me too. Bye.